Thanks to the chairman and the ranking member. And, a lot of times this kind of infrastructure doesn't get a lot of attention until you're at the end of the line and your road isn't plowed and your kids can't get to school. And you see the traffic fatality, the increased traffic fatality, I think, as a result of some pretty challenging conditions on all of my reservations, but particularly up at the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, where they're experiencing a huge growth in employment and activity, and the roads are pitiful. They are horrible. And so I just have a couple questions, but Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit additional questions for the record, if that's agreeable. The Tribal High Priorities Project Program, I think it was provided about $30 million each year from the general fund, is used to target the most pressing transportation issues in Indian country. Obviously, we think that there are some extreme needs at Fort Berthold, which is Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara. If you don't believe me, you might want to talk to Ken Hall, who is here from the Tribal Council watching these proceedings. Can you tell me, and Fort Berthold has some unique challenges because not only do we have this incredible growth as a result of the Bakken, we had major flooding in 11, which literally made the reservation a transportation island. Can you tell me about the criteria for this high priority program and whether any of the situation, especially in Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, have an opportunity to qualify for that program? Mr. Black?
Well, I can go first, and then Mr. Sparrow can add to this. I have had the experience of traveling those roads at Fort Berthold a number of times personally, and I can,
well,
I
then
can
you
definitely
really want to
share
fix
with
them.
you what I can share the pain up there and know exactly what the conditions are. And there's so many different challenges in meeting that. But to address the high priority program that you're talking about there, under the previous Transportation Act, we did have a high priority program project identified in there, and it was a 2% set aside, I believe, Bob?
It turned out to be a little more than that.
A little bit more than that. Now, under MAP 21, it was authorized, but it was never funded. So there is no program under MAP 21 currently for the high priority projects. So under the proposal, there is going to be hopefully a funding mechanism under the new Transportation Act that we can address those concerns.
And it would be very much appreciated to have clear and concise standards so that we know when we're applying for those priority dollars that we have an opportunity to be successful. Mr. Sparrow, I have a quick question for you. Under MAP 21, the Tribal Transportation Program is provided about $450 million in fiscal years 14 and 13. And under the allocations provided by the Highway Trust Fund, this amount accounts for slightly greater than 1% of overall highway funding. Given the great need in Indian country to improve the quality of the roads and the continuing pressure to maintain and improve transportation infrastructure, what do you think that's an adequate or appropriate amount of money from the highway funds, and what steps should we take to improve access to those dollars?
Senator, thank you for the question. The administration has recognized the importance of the program, and in the FY15 budget that President Obama submitted, did propose an increase of the program from $450 million to $507 million.
That's 1 mile of road in North Dakota these days.
But beyond that, the administration will be submitting reauthorization language and proposal beyond the FY15 budget in the coming months, and be at that time working with Congress to answer the question.
Yeah, I just want to make the point, and I don't mean to point fingers, but I was talking to the chairman up at Spirit Lake, and these issues came up, and to the chairman's observation, you would drive down a township road, and all of a sudden the road wasn't plowed, and the road wasn't plowed because the township supervisors decided those were, the people on the other end of that road were Native American people, and that must be the responsibility of the tribes. And so we know we need to do a better job coordinating with state and local, county, township authorities, especially when we have reservations with a lot of in-holdings and a lot of, not understanding. But we also need the federal government to step up and to make a commitment, particularly in Indian country, which is, I think, a primary responsibility that many of these tribes cannot afford to provide that quality transportation. And as a result, what happens is kids don't get to school, and mail doesn't get delivered, and people can't get groceries, and people get more and more isolated, and law enforcement can't to attend to their business. And so not having these conduits has real consequences in Indian country. And I would just impress upon you and the administration that this is a primary responsibility, and we need to figure out how we're going to expand capacity.
Senator Heitkamp?
Not to belabor the chairman's point, but who do we need to talk to? I mean, I know you understand the problems. You actually have been out there on the roads. But, we constantly have members from the administration come in and talk about the needs and talk about underserving and acknowledge the problems. But yet, when they see the budget request, anyone would say, this is an administration that's satisfied with the numbers that are going into Indian health, satisfied with the numbers that are going into transportation, satisfied with the numbers that are going into Indian housing, because there isn't any increased request. And that is enormously frustrating, because I think that it hides the magnitude of the problems. And so I guess my question is, I have no doubt that within your sphere, you are fighting for every dollar that you get, and you have to be the good soldier and come down here and support what the administration requests. But we need to have an understanding that we need to know what the actual needs are. And when we hear the problems and then we see the budget, there is a complete disconnect between that understanding of the magnitude of the problems and the willingness to step up and take responsibility to help solve them and look creatively at very many kinds of strategies that could make a difference, whether it's mandating or not, shouldn't say mandating, but having a dialogue with governors and with highway commissioners about how we're going to treat these property within I mean, you have a great relationship with governors and with your highway commissioners. DOT does. So how do we get this done? But I guess the one message I'd like you to take back is, look, we aren't going to be satisfied with a discussion about the great needs and then look at the commitment in dollars, in budgets. I mean, let us say no, but be honest about what you need in order to provide just basic human conditions, and that includes transportation.
Okay, thank you.